What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Dungeon Talks, your weekly companion show to Dungeon Nytes, our Saturday D&D session. Tonight with me, I have Oisin and Istiria, aka Mr. Faded and Cospain. What up, fam? How are you?
Heyo.
This is our show where you get to ask us questions as we're going along. If you're here live in the audience, you have a question, feel free to ask. We are perusing it with our eyeballs the entire time. After the show, we will be staying live for the after show, which then we typically talk D&D and create a character that we then use in a session. In fact, the one that we created during last week was part of our session last Saturday. So we're already starting to incorporate them. We're weaving the web, so to speak. So make sure you guys are catching this on YouTube and not live. Get here live Wednesday nights around 11 p.m. Eastern, and we have a good time. If not, be sure to catch up with all the good things on the YouTube. So, this past week was a bit of a roller coaster. Unexpectedly. We were talking about that a little bit before the show. Lots of laughs and then some sads. Was there a particular standout moment for either of you in terms of the laugh or the cries or the giggles or what have you?
The whole situation with Ride Off.
All of it.
The whole situation
All of
right off?
Like,
Yep.
Who are you? Like, what?
Yeah. So, I'm not gonna lie. Cataract kind of screwed that one up for me. I had a really fun thing planned, and his damn bardness got in the way. I almost got away with it. I kept giving myself chances to get away with it, but his bard was too strong. So I did. I wanted right off. I didn't have the whole amnesia thing planned going into it. I just thought it would be fun, but I definitely wanted him to at least be spooked initially by the fact that he woke up and is like, "Where am I?" And then kind of go into squirrel mode and run away, and then you guys have to chase him. But it was Cataract.
Yeah.
And he has Bard. Bard has persuasion. He's at like +10 at this point. There was nothing I could do. I was like, and someone drops plates, and he's scared again. He's like, I used persuasion again. Damn it. There's only so much you can do.
See, if I was inside, we'd been like, hawk, catch squirrel.
Lunch.
No.
See, those are so... You could have wild shaped into a bird and caught him. That would have been amazing.
Mhm. I was outside, so
It'd have been funnier to see
it
you
was
do it
all
as a
up to the
bear.
bird.
The bear come back. I don't know. Would she be able to catch him as a bear, though? You think?
Oh yeah.
They have
Paw
a
on
lot
tail.
They have a lot of movement.
I'm not saying
Like,
that you don't have movement.
yeah.
I'm just saying in terms of like being able to get into tight places and things, you know? Big paws, big head. Whereas bird's a little bit more, a little nimble.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For me, it was right off taking a shit in my bed. Bastard.
That's right. It's your bed. Forgot about that. So for those of you that didn't catch up on the show, again, I'll post a card up here for everybody catching us on YouTube. Go catch the show. But essentially, Rydoth has been asleep for a month, and he wakes up to kind of find himself not in where he remembers being last. He remembers fighting the dragon, but he doesn't have a whole lot of memory of the stuff around the dragon. Kind of that whole month of time period plus since you guys met him in Thunder Tree is kind of spotty for him at best. And so yeah, he wakes up, and I don't know how we go down this road, but this is D&D. Right? We decided to give Ryan some applesauce to try and help him because we figured it would help his digestive system. And I just thought it would be too fun to give him a case of gas and or the squirts. And he definitely trusted one he shouldn't have. Got away from him. Wasn't that on a nat 1?
Yeah. And
Oh,
thank
wow.
God for prestidigitation.
Some of the dice rolls this week too with the didn't was this the week that Gage rolled the snake eyes?
No, because he wasn't
that
at
was last
disadvantage.
week.
That was last week.
My God, that was incredible.
He did a snake eyes, and then he did a 20 and a 1.
Yeah, that was nuts. I was like, what are we doing with ours? But anyway, so we get through the Rydoth kind of section, and you guys catch up with him a little bit, and then we kind of progress through the episode. I'm just how do you think that what were the let me put it this way, what were the expectations for each of your characters, right? What was Isteria's and Ashin's expectations of Rydoth like going into that? What did you think was going to happen when he woke up?
Carrie, you want to go first?
Druidy stuff. That really was.
Druidy stuff. Explain.
Well, he's an elder druid. She's still very young, even for an Eladrin. So she looks up to Rydoth because he's an elder. So that's like been her first priority for a while. Just to see what he had to say. Like, what the heck happened? You're supposed to be this old ass druid that can do all these cool things.
And he
You
got
get knocked the
frozen
fuck
by a
out.
dragon.
Right?
Hey, I mean, he took on a dragon by himself and he's still alive. So that in and of itself says something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Druidy things. Did you guys think that he was going to be okay? Like that he was just going to be fine?
So the last couple of episodes, I did. However, before that, prior to that, I legit thought he was probably going to end up dying.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
You thought we weren't going to save him?
I guess so. Expect the best, but plan for the worst.
Okay.
So like, I'm hoping for the best to happen and that he survives, which he did. But in the back of my mind, I'm planning for kind of the proverbial shit to hit the fan.
Right. Well, I mean, Ashin's had so many bad life experiences, right? That at least in his own recent memory, in terms of recent being an elf, within the last 10 years or so, that yeah, that's understandable that you would be expecting the worst, 100%. But you've kind of talked with Rydoth a little bit. Were you hoping that conversation would have been a bit more fruitful for you?
So kind of seeing how it was going,
Mhm.
I wasn't really under the expectation that he was going to remember Ashin specifically.
Okay.
I was hoping that the bagpipe trick would jog his memory.
I was close.
And then it
It's a
didn't.
good idea.
And then it didn't. And I was like, oh.
The clever
Because that
idea
gives him like a tangible thing
to
that
hold
he
on to.
did. Right.
Yep. I think there's a balance, right? Between I wanted to give you guys enough information about what was going on in the dragon in time, but not give you so much, right? And I
Right.
think there's a certain amount of pacing that I'm trying to encourage. So we've been kind of waiting for Rydoth to further the storyline, so to speak. Like the whole time jump was to allow us to do a lot of things, but then was also to help Rydoth heal and then kind of further this quest. And one of the things that I've just seen with everybody kind of settling into town and us in this transitional phase of what we're kind of doing next, there was a lot of really good character development that was happening. And I didn't want to force us too far into a big boss battle. I want to be careful. I don't want to say too much, but like, I didn't want to force us into that right away. Right.
Well, I mean, just my honest opinion, like I don't think that Ashin's ready to fight an adult dragon.
Certainly
There's
sounded
no
like he
way.
was at the end of the episode.
Oh, okay. So his mentality, yeah, he's ready to go in there and set the whole place on fire. But, he doesn't know what I know.
Sure. Well, so let's walk through the rest of the episode, right? So so Bamir has this conversation with Sister Grayla and about trying to take a job. And essentially the job is really to go check up on a couple people that were on a job site and just make sure that they were okay. And that kind of got waylaid by the dice. Thank you, dice gods. Given the mechanic of the dragon in this particular setting. And I'm going to be honest with you that so the whole ending session that we had with the dragon flyby, I didn't even intend for us to take that much time on it. It really was one of those cool moments that just kind of gets away from you. And again, we kind of talked about this pre-stream, so it's fun to kind of to bring it up again. But I very much was trying to put a scenario where one, we didn't have to fight the dragon, because I think that again, I think everyone's was not ready for that yet. Two, that we kind of at least have that encounter because the dice made that encounter happen, right? Random encounter. At least made that happen in a way that was still meaningful, that would give you as characters, give your characters more reason to, to hate the big bad, right? And to just kind of give you a bit of a taste because you hadn't really interacted with the dragon at all. You haven't been able to find it. You haven't been able to see it. If anything, it's just been, little sightings here and there in the dark, and no one's really gotten a really good look at them. So I was trying to set that up, and that ends up turning into a much more in-depth scenario. And so I know in the moment it was affecting everybody, but I'm going to go back to you, Cause. How did that progression kind of play out for Istiria's character, right? Because I feel like everybody was getting a bit emotional in that, but it's interesting to kind of get Istiria's perspective on all these kind of things going on, because you kind of just you move and you do, right?
Mm. Well, she cares for these people, and she doesn't want any of them to get hurt. And aside from tending to the people that she felt confident in doing so, she's also worrying about Oisin because of his current mental state and the mark of Cheverash and everything included with that. So after everything that happened in the tower, she was like, okay, well, I'm here. If you want to talk, I'm here. And they ended up just standing for a while.
Yeah, for
which
what
is
amounted
okay
to
too.
a couple of hours, he stood out there on that field.
Yeah. So for those that again haven't seen the episode yet, you should totally watch it and then come back. Essentially what happens is the dragon does a drive-by and lights up a tower with ice magic and basically obliterates this tower. And how that ultimately played out, and I guess I'm going to stop us here. We'll go through this blow by blow. You guys heard the dragon, right? And he gave the warning, and everybody was able to see this tower get got, essentially, right? What was Oisin thinking as he's seeing this whole kind of episode?
So once I did the primeval awareness,
Yep,
and he got the initial sense that there was a dragon like near,
mm-hmm.
It was, oh fuck. Repeatedly in his head, very loudly, and that's why because he was like looking at Istiria, he was like, Istiria, there's a dragon, there's a dragon, there's a dragon.
He's like, yeah, so
hey, let's go.
Right. And then when he kind of witnessed what happened, his heart sank down to his boots.
Right.
Like, I don't know how else I would explain that.
Right. So he attacks this tower. This tower explodes into splinters, and you're seeing what was a tower of 5 guys. Basically, 2 of them get launched off, and we determine pretty quickly that they're okay. And then you run up the ladder basically to find 3 guys encapsulated in ice, right? And again, just kind of walk me through that from your perspective.
From mine or from Oisin's?
Both, but Oisin's first.
Okay. So, in Oisin's mind, when he saw it happen, and they started heading in that direction, the only thought that was in his head was he failed.
Hmm.
He failed to protect this town. And he takes that failure, whether or not it's his fault, he takes that failure very heavily. Just like when his own village got wiped out during his childhood, even though there was nothing that he could have done to prevent it, he blames himself.
Sure.
And this is just a little bit of a look into the backstory. He went back to his village with Istiria as a younger. We're talking about elves, adult, and basically buried all the corpses in town.
Sure.
And that there was an emotional connection there between that moment of going back to his town and seeing the destruction, and when he saw that tower get basically blown up, it was like bringing all of that back into the front of his mind. So that was kind of the emotional state that he was in. Me personally, if for anybody that has role played in here before, I'm sure you might have experienced this. My heart was breaking for my own character, because he was going through this stuff, and I mean, I'm basically wearing that skin, right? So I'm playing as that character, but that character's going through that, and that's a tough time.
Yeah, and and I realized that in the moment, right? And for people that don't know, you have a military background as well. So I know that these kind of scenarios can have a potential to hit closer to home, but in the moment as we're going through these things, and this is why I guess I'll interject this. Knowing your players, knowing the people you play with, or at least having an understanding of what healthy boundaries are for people is really important for a DM. That's one of the things that I'm still I feel like I toe the line in some instances more than I probably should. And it's not on purpose. It's just one of those things where you get caught up trying to tell a really cool story or have a really thematic moment, and you find yourself going, "Oh shit."
Well, you didn't violate any boundaries, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I
But it's
the
still
only
I'm trying to be considerate while it's a balance, right? Like you're trying to be considerate of your players and maybe some life experiences while also, kind of weave this narrative. And again, everybody's different threshold, and we talked, right? And I know we were good, but in the moment I was like, "Oh crap." Like literally I was like, "I know you've been in the military." And it was like this flash decision where it was like, "Okay, we need an option to save some of these people if we can somehow." And it was all too perfect that kind of Gage is healed now with Leif, right? Leif's character is healed completely. He's able to wield his magic effectively, and that we kind of introduced the narrative where, hey, you can be able to save some of these guys. And it felt like the air changed a bit when that happened.
that whole scene was beautiful from a player perspective, and then from a viewer's perspective. It was a beautiful scene. Watching Leif save those guys. Uh, it's I don't know how else to explain it other than that it was beautiful. And the emotional climax, while it was not necessarily like on the up and up, like it was up, it was more of a down, but um, it was awesome. I'm a little choking up right now thinking about it because I'm like reliving that experience again in my head because I'm like thinking about the situation, right? Like what the character was going through.
Yep.
So yeah, like it was fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, from you get hit with, I think words. It's hard being the deck of many NPCs as a DM in a lot of respects because you get hit with the spectrum all the time, right? Like you are the dragon that is saying stay away from my ish, boom, blow up your tower, puny townspeople, right? And you're like, yeah, good. And then you're the town going, oh shit, we just got attacked. And then I'm seeing my players go through what you're going through, and again, we kind of got caught up in a bit. And again, I want to say caught up because it's good RP, but like the emotions were definitely there where I could see it in each one of your faces that this was just like this very deep moment that was happening. And as these decisions are being made, like you're feeling all of this stuff all at once. And it's very confusing and emotionally taxing at the same time. Seeing
Yep.
you guys react so strongly is great because it means we've come up with such a beautiful moment. Like you said, beautiful, right? Such a beautiful moment. But at the same time, the reason it's beautiful is just because there's so much rawness to it. And I loved seeing Leif step in and immediately kind of go in and save 2 out of 3. Fortunately, save 2 out of 3. Thank God we saved 2 out of 3. Thank you, dice gods, for saving 2 out of 3, because it was it's that reprieve that you need, right? In those dark moments, like finding that reprieve.
Right.
You know, it could have been 5 soldiers lost their lives, right? But it was 1, and the despair of that also weighed along with the at least impact of, yeah, but we saved him, right? We were able to save some. Is still there, and you could see it in Leif's face too. With like Gage's face was he was working, right? And it's like it's weird to say that because it's all RP, but like it's, he's working to save these guys. You could see it in the face.
Yeah,
But
there was like raw focus. Like you could tell that like
yep,
that the character was focused on a singular task, and that was it. There was nothing else going on for him. Just cutting one piece of ice off this guy at a time.
sure. And you're just you end up you kind of end up where you are. It was you could feel almost the, like you said, the focus, but the pressure, the panic, the air kind of changed a little bit, and then we
And
get hit
then
with the somber, right?
right, and Cataract, Bamir not really knowing, like wanting to comfort Ashin, but sort of not really understand, like not knowing how or hesitant to do so, but does so anyways. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's just been so many of these really nice moments that have happened over the past few sessions where, despite we're being in town, despite there's not a ton of action per se going on, the amount of development that we've had as a group has been something that I have been hoping would happen for a long time. Like, in to pull away from the main story, like we've had these discussions before where I keep challenging you guys to find ways to bond as a group, because when I externally look at it from a kind of an evolutionary story perspective, I say, okay, well, you've got this group of people who don't really know each other. You're kind of setting out to do a common thing in saving Gundren at the very beginning of all this, right? And it's kind of just like an agreement. Okay, we're going to go save Gundren. And where there were some moments in the early campaign where there was some togetherness, where there was some levity, where there was some bonding happening, but I wouldn't say that there was anything that has like that had forged you together like we've seen in the past few sessions. It really feels like there has been a concerted effort amongst everyone to kind of have those moments that create the glue that's now going to stick you guys together. I don't know. What do you think about that, Carrie?
Mm, I mean, we've all had our little moments to try to solidify us. Um, Looking forward to more.
Ooh,
I don't really have much.
looking forward to more, you say.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to see? What do you think Asteria needs to feel part of the group right now? Or do you think that she feels part of the group, or is she still kind of
She
Eladrining
feels
on the
part of
perimeter?
the. Yeah, she kind of feels like she's still on the perimeter because she's very much the outsider here, almost as much as Leif. 'cause she's from a completely different place. And the only person she really knows is Ashin.
Right.
And so she always sticks by him, talks to him mostly, other than occasional conversations with everybody else. But yeah.
This is just not a goblin.
So the job board moment, I think that's like this whole instance that happened during this session
Mm-hmm.
is going to serve to be one of those things that draws the characters in the party together, because they're all going to be kind of singularly focused on this one task.
I agree. I think it's actually been interesting because I was not planning from a DM perspective. I plan session to session. I've learned over time that that's my preferred way to DM, where we kind of look at what's happened, look at kind of where I want to go, and plan out just that next chunk, that next 3-4 hours, whatever that is. I try and plan that out. And typically I end up planning out for more than we end up doing because we always take up a lot of good time RPing, and that's totally A-okay. But
I'm sorry.
No, don't ever apologize for good RP. That's what we do here. We want to tell stories. Let us tell a story. But the main kind of draw in doing things that way is that you get the flexibility to react. So just like I didn't plan to have that dragon sequence, right? I also am not now planning for what's coming after. I hadn't even thought about that because I felt like we were going to be many sessions down the road before we were going to even attempt to really explore this route the way that we are emotionally motivated as a party to do so right now. And that's exciting to me because it's okay. Well, what are we going to find? What are we going to get there? How does that need to kind of pan out? What kind of scenarios can we get into? What kind of situations can we get into? What can we learn from this experience that aids to our overall understanding of the predicament that we find ourselves in, but also, how much further kind of show us how much further we have to go before we're really ready for this kind of an encounter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the funeral scene was amazing too. By the way, you did such a fantastic job playing that cleric.
Oh
my God.
Nosdeath is going to be a cool person to play.
I didn't really get to meet her because my cat's a jerk.
So, your technical glitches aside, yeah, it was interesting, right? We had created Nosdeath on the show last week, and it just came up that, hey, we could use a cleric because there's a funeral, and who better to do kind of a last rite situation than a cleric? And we haven't encountered one in town before, so kind of having one up here when we need them is, hey, opportunistic, but that's what DMs do. So she really didn't say much, and I didn't want to take away any of the experience that you guys were feeling, because when you're DMing Deus Ex Cleric, right? What's up, Kat? I think there's enough. When I'm DMing, there's many times that I want to continue the narrative and continue to push us forward instinctively. And I'm finding a lot of moments lately where I'm telling myself no. Because there's good story happening, because there's opportunities for the players to take agency of a situation, and it doesn't need me, right? And it's an interesting realization.
It's a little scary, right?
I mean, yes and no. So essentially, right, as a cleric, she could come in, kind of act like she was going to take, this is not my inclination, was not to take over, but my inclination was to have more of a conversation when you guys came down the ladder than you did. Like that was my hey, we're coming up. Who's this character? Hi, I'm Nosdeth. I'm a cleric. Can I help? You know, yeah, I just wandered in from so and so, and I'm happy to help you. But like that was not the moment for that at all. It's like read the room, Nosdeth. Read the room.
I love that the first person she ran into was Goderic,
Yeah,
and he was like, "Yeah,
it's like,
Yeah.
Okay. Am I going to fight you, or are you going to help us, or what? And she just walks up and she's just like, receive healing. um, and then proceeds on, right? Like where am I needed? And I felt like that was the most, her being a more seasoned adventurer and understanding the gravity of the situation lended it more to be, she was more reserved, right? She understands, hey, this is the time where we just do what's needed and talk later. But it was hard. It's hard not to do that. I don't know, do you guys have moments where you want to be more involved in a scene, but you're not?
all the time."
Mhm.
Especially if I'm not there for the scene, I'm listening to all the what's going on, and I'm like, "Oh, I want to say this." Wait, I'm not in the room. Shit. All right, I'll just sit here.
You were saying something, Cause?
No, I was just agreeing. Like, there's been moments where I'm like, I want to say this or I want to do that. I'm like, I can't.
Why? Because you're just not there in the space physically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should talk about that more. Because if there's more opportunities where you guys feel like you could be together doing things, maybe we should think about doing that more. Just food for thoughts. But
Mhm.
Well, I think it adds it adds to the entire session, because if my character's in another building or in another room,
Right.
say I'm at the blacksmith doing stuff over there, and everybody's having a conversation,
Right.
having my character filled in on the information is important, right?
Sure.
Or because I have a thing going on with that blacksmith, I'm having that gift crafted. The payoff on that's going to be amazing. Everybody knows about it, but Goderic.
Poor guy. He has no idea the amount of love that's coming his way soon, TM. But no, I those are it's weird when those moments happen, because even I had one of those moments, but the moment that I had was that I was in deck of many NPC mode having to talk to myself and there was no players in the room. And I was like, why'd you guys leave?
Oh my god, that was so. You did so good though. You're
so
talking about between
awkward.
Edermath and Rydoth.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying it was a moment. So to preface, backing up earlier in the session, Edermath and Rydoth have some sort of history. They've talked about kind of adventuring together and have alluded to the fact that they're kind of buddies. So when Rydoth comes in, Edermath has these moments where he's coming and helping to heal him. He's by his side. He's checking in on him. And here's Rydoth has woken up and he's like, hey, I'm going to go and check on the buddy. Right? Well, Edermath gets there, goes upstairs. Rydoth's chilling out in Oshin's room still. And then all the players all right, well, we'll leave you two alone to talk. And it's like, okay, we'll leave you two alone to talk. They're both me. And I was like, don't you guys want to hear what's going on in the room? So I love that you were like, I'm going to sneak up the stairs. And I'm like, please do.
Yep, and I still stayed quiet the whole time.
I know. Well, there's a couple moments, right? Like the one when Rydoth wakes up, Leif's like, do I hear what's going on in the room next to me? And I'm like, let's see. He's like, nope. Okay. That was a good moment where I feel like maybe we could take some more of those checks if you guys see the opportunity to maybe get involved, if you heard something.
Right.
I mean, you wanted some alone time, but the overall kind of awkwardness
Maybe
of that specific moment was I was like, you guys, there's going to be information conveyed between these two characters that is now complete meta because you have no idea what's going on. But that was good. I was glad that you took the initiative to go there, and even that moment with Edermath and Oshin after, when Edermath walks out, he's like, "Did you catch all that?" Like, "Yep." Okay, good. like almost like he knows he's standing outside the room. those type of moments where you can still maintain that agency are important. But yeah, it was awkward. It was really awkward. Talking to yourself as a DM is one of the weirdest things to do.
It shows that you have some pretty good talent there as a dungeon master, being able to do that. Because there are people out there that can't. Like, just talking to yourself is difficult, let alone carrying on a conversation between two different people that only you are talking.
Yeah. Weird. Thank God their accents are easy. You have clear toned old man, and you got a raspy old man. So at least it's easy enough to distinguish.
Yeah, Cataract, they wanted some alone time. Maybe they're not just friends. Maybe they're more than friends.
Maybe, you never know. They could have some of that special magic between them.
Is that what we call it now?
The magic. That magic. Never mind. Anyway, so again, the interesting times where we continue to kind of have those moments. Things suck, puppets.
Oh God.
It's it's just it kind of isn't again, it continues to surprise me, the situations that we find ourselves in just through the course of normal RP. Kind of moving back into the funeral scene. You calling on the guard was 100% a natural thing to do, but something that I didn't think about. Right? Like the still the complementary nature of what happens in all of the roles is really continues to amaze me. I think that's why I love this so much. It's a complete. Oh boy. Oh boy. You guys are talking in chat. Oh, Sheen sneaks upstairs and there's a sock on the doorknob. Yeah, not sticking around for that.
Nope. Y'all can have your talk. Yeah.
Secret lover. That's what they are.
Oh man, he's gonna have to prestidigitate my sheets again.
No. I'm fairly certain they're just good friends. But not more than friends.
Not good friends.
Although it would be interesting if Rydoth had a spell that he could wild shape Ettermath, and they could wild shape together and have some animal fun. I don't know. It'd be weird. Anyway,
does he have polymorph?
I don't know. Does
be it? I don't know.
It'd be weird.
Maybe Ettermath has polymorph. Never really actually talked about.
Dude,
maybe we should make an Ettermath character.
We should consider making an Ettermath character and or a Rydoth character, because what do these dudes have to do? Because if you guys ever seen the old school Sword in the Stone, the old school Disney Sword in the Stone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, like that's one of the things, right? Like Merlin turns Milo, or they call him Wart, but he was Arthur, like into all these different animals so that he can understand better, like nature and all this kind of stuff. And the whole scene with the squirrels, like that just popped in my head. Yeah. Did you like that? What does it sound like when you wild shape? Well, apparently when you're scared and you wild shape, it sounds like this.
God, I almost lost it then, because you've done it more than once with Rydoth, right? I think you've done it twice. And I was like, oh my God.
It's a fun. I mean, how do you communicate these things, right? How do you explain wild shape? Like, it's cool. Like Istiria has like an elegant shimmer that happens, and then like her spirit kind of expands into a spectral body that then becomes more corporeal form, and it's awesome. But Rydoth's an old druid who is about ready to poop himself, who did poop himself. He's just and pop. I'm a squirrel. That's great. So we get into a couple different potential paths here. So we talked about a little bit about this. So you think I agree with the kind of throwing up the justice tag, right? Bamir giving you the paper that says justice on it and you putting it up on the job board. I like that a lot.
That, like, the moment that Bamir handed that to Sheen, I was like, I think I know what's going on here. I know what I have to do. And then I opened it, and he said what was written on it, and I was like, yep, absolutely. Walks in, rips down, boom.
It was a singular moment too. I mean, I think like Istiria, I think you were like, dragon die,
Hmm.
and could see Leif was like, yeah, there's no talking to this one. So you guys are kind of singularly focused. How do you think the town is going to react now? That not that there's been reports of the dragon, but it's actually attacked the town.
I think the town master's going to be shitting his pants.
What do we do?
At the very core of that man, Oisin gets the feeling, and this is the judgment that he's passed on Harbin already, is that he's a freaking coward.
You don't think you've had a positive impact on Harbin since being there and showing him that there's a better way?
I think we've made him want to act more, but
Yeah.
deep down, he's still like, I'm the mayor, but it's your job to protect this town. Like,
Right.
what?
Well,
No, it's actually the mayor's job to protect this town.
I mean, you're his
that's
greatest
how-
asset, though, right?
That's how Istiria feels about it, because that's pretty much what he said to her when she was like, what? Huh?
Well, I mean, think about it, right? So Harbin's a guy that had no standing. He had no standing military force whatsoever. His town gets invaded by essentially, ruffians, and he has nothing he can do about it because he doesn't have a town guard. There's no nothing. It's a joke. And then on top of that, he is stuck in this place. Now you guys have unstuck him from that place. Since then, he has condoned and encouraged the town guard. He's encouraged you and Go Direct to train the town guard. He's organized the construction of an actual wall around Phandalin as a city and helped to organize everything with getting towers built. So I feel like Harbin is being more mayoral. You still think he's not being good? This is interesting.
So, my opinion doesn't matter, right? It's all Oisin here at this point.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, even seeing all that, you'd still say Oisin Istiria feel like he's more acting the part as opposed to kind of stepping into the role more. I think that's again, it is what it is. I just think it's interesting.
I feel like Harbin has definitely stepped up in terms of actually performing the duties of the mayor of the town or town master, however you want to label it. But one, Oisin doesn't feel like Harbin's the man for the job. Because that man's got some yella to his belly, if you know what I mean. He's scared.
Chicken?
Yeah, absolutely. And this whole instance with this attack happening, there's going to be some gauging of Harbin from Oisin's part on how he reacts.
Okay, interesting. Noted.
And if he's not happy with how Harbin reacts,
you keep trying to make Bamir town master.
There's going to be a vacancy.
There'll be a vacancy, maybe.
Istiria's reasoning is more reflecting on her time in the Feywild. Belongs to a court. There's structure in the courts. People with the big jobs normally don't do shit. They just let things fall to the side and make other people do their work for them. So
Truth.
she's like, I don't like
it's
you.
like that in a lot of elven society.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting to me because so explain a little bit more about that, because to me, elven society, I feel like typically the more capable elves are those that are kind of at the hierarchy, because elves are naturally adept at doing a lot of things. At least in a lot of the lore around elves, you see a lot of either magic and or skill or both being wielded by those at the top, which is either passed down through family bloodlines that are, strong or etc.
I mean, as far
Probably
as the Eladrin go, I mean, you also have the Fae aspect mixing in with the Elven. So it's like the courts are like very, very, very important to them. The structure is very important to them. Like everyone has its place and its role to play, and especially when magic and title and power are concerned.
Right.
So, typically, and I mean, this is really kind of just my opinion, but like, Elven society is kind of like a caste system, right?
Sure.
So your family bloodline is basically the source of your power, right?
Mhm.
And some families have some families have little, and some families have all of it.
Mm.
So, and that doesn't necessarily mean that people from the weaker bloodlines aren't going to have people that are powerful.
Right. It just means that they're not viewed as powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
So like in Ashin's village, like it's a he comes from a family of hunters, but I mean it's a wood elf village, so they're not the only powerful people there. They have druids there, and to answer your question, Nat, I would say
So the question
yes
is, do
and
elves tend to keep the bloodlines
no.
pure? So I would say in most of the elven lore that I've seen, I think there's definitely a tendency to think of elves as trying to keep elven bloodlines pure. But we do encounter quite a bit of have elves in D&D in terms of that being a class. Right? So I think maybe perhaps depending on what circle you're running in D&D or what kind of group it is within D&D, you're going to see a lot more commingling, if you will.
So it would so as far as like keeping their lines pure, like the families that are in power are going to marry other families of power,
sure,
to keep their power or to grow their power base.
Then the question beyond that was, does that mean Istiria is already promised to somebody back in the summer court? I don't know if we want to give that away right now or not.
I'm not supposed to give that away yet.
Well, I think by you not willing to be,
I don't think I've read anything about that yet, so I don't even know if that's been a thing.
So by it being said, or by it being not said, it's been said.
Maybe.
So she certainly doesn't want to go home.
You don't want to go home, but you can't stay here.
I mean, I guess we could, if you want to, Carrie, we could talk about it.
I mean, I think that would be fun to have experience naturally in the story. However, I think it's an interesting idea that there might be a reason that Istiria is not there. You've already I think you've already alluded to in previous sessions that you have a family disagreement, and we'll call it that. A family disagreement that has caused you to leave. You have not yet said what the reason was for that disagreement.
I will say that Ashin doesn't even know.
Nope. They've never talked about it.
Yep.
In 10 years,
and actually,
still doesn't know about it.
No one in the party's actually ever asked her about the spring court, even though, except for, no, I think Leif did once, very briefly. But as much as it's come up in conversation with other NPCs, it was like, cool.
Asteria's character, right? And like, I don't want to like pick on you, but like, I want to pick on you because I want to pick your brain because I want more Istiria. Like we've talked about this before. Like Istiria is one of the like most enigmatic characters right now, and it's great because it's frustrating to me as someone that is enjoying the story because I want more of it, and it's not there. But it's because she's not there. But you kind of like are intentionally distanced. You like almost, it feels intentional, like keeping your distance from from
But
everyone
it's not even
else.
that it's intentional. It's like it's in her sheet. It's in her flaws and her traits. Like she is very excited to be in a new place and she's taking in the beauty and awe of it all and the people and talking to people and listening to people. So she's always like quiet. When she says something, it's normally for a reason.
Very direct, and I like that. But still, mm,
I get the feeling like we might need to make a trip to the Feywilds.
yeah,
What?
that's
Did
been
I
brought
say
up
that?
before.
Did I say that?
It's been
Did I
brought
say
up that
that?
we need to go to the Feywilds before. How that is going to be achieved is has been another topic for discussion, right? So, yeah, could we imagine some elf showing up and it's the polar opposite of Istiria that has a long sword? Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting.
Accidentally killing things.
Accidentally killing things. Sure, you're gonna kill the. Let's see. Polar opposite of Wisteria would be Winter Court.
Yep.
So cold and mean and
You know,
not
that's
nice.
now that you say that, that's an interesting thread to pull on given the current climate we find ourselves in with a white dragon. It's an interesting idea. I have not even thought about that idea yet. That's a thread I'm gonna have to pull on for a bit.
She and I have.
Hmm.
Oh.
So one thing I kind of been meaning to ask you more about, Faded, was going back to the session before where you kind of had the conversation with Cheverash. One thing that in retrospect is I keep thinking about these moments that we have as these characters, right? How do you feel Ashin views his own character? Like, what would Ashin say that if you asked him, like, what are the qualities of your character, Ashin? What are those? Because you very much act in ways and talk, especially in that conversation, very sincerely about how you don't want what it is that Cheverash is giving, but then you also are willing to admit that there's certainly parts of you that do. And so I'm very curious as to how Ashin kind of views himself in what's going on.
Okay. This is kind of a big whammy here.
Didn't mean to wham you.
No, you're good. There are a lot of rangers that worship Cheverash. He is sort of the deity of rangers in like elven kind.
Cool. Okay.
Cheverash is the sum of all elven rage towards evil and, well, basically the Underdark and everything that comes out of it. So Ashin has longed for a long time. He has longed for vengeance,
Right.
and to that end, follows Cheverash.
Okay.
He considers Cheverash his deity. And to be chosen by Cheverash, he feels it is a great honor.
Mm.
And he wants to accept the gift. But he doesn't want to give up his freedom of choice for the sake of power. And he doesn't want to lose himself to that power. Not that he doesn't want the power, because he does. He wants to be able to vanquish his foes with swift vengeance.
Right.
But he's kind of at an impasse, because do you give yourself over to it,
Right.
and he's because what I know about vengeance is you're gonna feel empty inside afterwards, right? Because it doesn't fill that hole. Look at Cheverash; she's forever a cup that cannot be filled.
Well, he hasn't finished his work yet either.
This is true. So that's kind of the boat that Oisin's in, and in a way, he considers the party as like his fledgling family,
Right.
and he views the town of Phandalin as his home now. Or at least we're getting to that point where it has grown in him. And he feels that Cheverash has a lot to offer in terms of being able to like take care of, say, this dragon or any other big bad or just regular baddies or whatever,
Right.
Because that's what Cheverash does. And Oisin respects that. Strength respects strength.
Sure.
And he would love to have the opportunity to utilize that strength for the gain of his party. But at what cost?
So the interesting thing is going back to that conversation, it very much felt like in that conversation, like Oisin was deny. If that makes sense. Like that was the feeling that I got from that talk. Also, thank you. All right, so I don't care if it's in the VOD anymore. You guys are amazing. So it is my birthday today. Thank you so very freaking much. Tony gave out 5 gift subs. Tony, if you're still here, fantastic. Thank you so much, man. If not, I hope you had a great night. Nat Awesome, thanks for the raid. Cataract, the 10 subs, gift subs. Thank you so much. And then my brain hurts faded. Also, thank you for the gifts. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really bad at this.
My friend.
You would think having done this, thank you. You would think having done the whole birthday thing a few times, and then also having been a streamer for this long, that you would know how to handle. Yeah, it's still very. Yeah, I'm bad at this. Thank you guys so much. I love your faces. Thank you. I appreciate the birthday wishes. You guys are amazing. I'm 34, and then of course in chat, almost halfway to 70. Motherfucker. I feel old enough as it is.
How many lives does that bard have now?
How many? What does the bard have now?
How many lives does the bard have now?
I don't know. How many lives does he have now? So funny. Unprofessional. Doing well. I try to do it well. All right.
So
Oisin kind of felt like he was. To me, it felt like Oisin was trying to deny himself in that moment, which was interesting.
Yes, and I have an answer for that.
Okay.
Are you wondering why he was denying himself and Cheverash?
Yeah.
Istiria.
Ooh, okay. So we've already been pulling on that thread. That thread has already been pulled. So we're gonna go deeper on that thread. I'm okay with that.
Can we have a bathroom break?
We're actually close to time here.
Okay.
In fact, we actually are close to time. So you know what? We're just going to say this. We're going to end on that note. That is a very tantalizing topic because we've already talked about how Istiria, with her talk with Sehanine, kind of has learned that Sehanine and Cheverash have this connection, which also is an interesting connection for her and Oisin to have. As it kind of mirrors that situation in terms of Istiria being the one to calm the savage Cheverash or the savage Oisin. That said, if you would like to hear more about all the awesome stuff that we got going on here at the Dungeon Talks and the Dungeon Nytes, you need to be subscribing on YouTube. If that's you, yes, you, sitting there watching this, sitting on your couch in your underwear, eating a bag of Cheetos, don't be ashamed. I do the same thing. It's your private time. I don't care what you do.
You know me
But
so
subscribe.
well.
Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification icon. If you're hanging out here with us live, don't go anywhere because we're going to have the after show where we create a character and it's amazing. But as always, make sure you're coming and hang out with us on Saturday nights for the live sessions of Dungeon Nytes. It's a fun time. And also, we have a giveaway going on right now. Check out the Dungeon Nytes Twitter and or Nighttide, my Twitter, for a link to that and or the Discord, which you can totally join. Because I'm giving away a copy of Rime of the Frost Maiden, the new adventure that just released this past week, as well as a set of dice. So if you haven't done that yet, what are you waiting for? Get on there. It's very easy. You just got to follow a couple channels on the social medias to help us out, and you could have the chance to win an adventure and some dice. So, that's it. I love your faces. Thank you so much, Cause and Faded, for being on the show tonight. And we will catch you guys on next time on Dungeon Talks.